So we are live this Wednesday. Welcome to our live interviews. And today we're lucky to have Petra joining us. Petra has gone through a self-healing journey for over 10 years. She's an essence empowering coach, energy healer, and helps women go through, helps them deal with their wounds. So Petra, tell us a little bit about what brought you to this journey of self-discovery, I would call it, and healing?
Hi, Shavita, and hi, everyone. Thank you for having me, first of all. Yes, of course. Actually, the journey that brought me to where I am today was actually my life path that I actually chose, I guess, when I incarnated into this world. I grew up in a small country in Europe, and I grew up in a abusive family. And there was literally no expression of emotion. I was quite sick when I was a teenager and when I was young. I suffered with really painful periods since day one, from when I got it, when I was 11 years old. And from that point on, literally, it got worse and worse and worse. I slipped into depression and anxiety and suicidal tendencies when I was 16. And I got offered a contraceptive pill, to solve all my issues. And at age of 20, I almost
Mm-hmm.
died because of it. There was a blood clot that was created from the contraceptive pill, and it traveled towards my lungs, so I literally had hours to live. So after that
Wow.
issue, that was actually a blessing if I look at it back. I got another chance to live,
Yep.
and it literally pushed me, the universe, God, or whatever you want to call it pushed me into self-healing, natural self-healing, because my intuition was screaming, you need to do something about it, you need to go
Yes.
somewhere else. So that's what started this journey. And after about 10 years of really diving deep into the physical support and my emotions, and really healing my wounds, and healing my womb area in my uterus, because I actually realized later on that I was suffering from endometriosis for a long time. But it went undiagnosed because back then in my country there was not an option for that at all.
Mm-hmm.
um, so after healing naturally, I now healed everything. So I don't have any troubles anymore with either painful periods or any issues with my periods. My cycles are beautiful. My anxiety levels are way down. I'm more connected to myself than I ever was. I create
Mm-hmm.
within. So this is where I am today, and help women to do the same thing today.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what is the body-mind connection healing that you do? What is it exactly?
So the way I see it, right, if we look
Yep.
at where we are currently living, we are
Mm-hmm.
majority of time we are in our heads, right, analyzing and thinking. And if we look at the new research as well, quantum physics is now proving that we are all energy, and our thoughts
Mm-hmm.
are actually triggers and messengers for our emotions. They trigger our emotions, and emotions are electricity and messengers to our body. So where our
Mm-hmm.
body listening to us, and the other way around. So emotions are also the language of our body, that
Mm-hmm.
is speaking to us when something is out of balance.
Mm.
And when we learn how to listen to that, we can actually transform, not only the present emotions that we're feeling, but also the suppressed emotions that we've been hiding in our bodies. Because I see our bodies um, as a map of experiences. And
Yes.
I sometimes try to be a bit funny and go, it's like a pantry. Yeah. So when
Yes.
we don't want to face something, or we don't want to look at it, we go and store it somewhere, right? So, and
Yes,
we store it in a
exactly.
part so we store it in a part of the body, right, that we don't want to look at. And Our body is such a beautiful thing. It helps us every single time. It wants to support us. And, we sometimes look at it today when we talk about healing and connection, right? We
Mhm.
try to eliminate things where our body actually wants to support us by literally isolating something and holding on to it so when we're ready we can look at it. And
Mhm.
why I love connecting through the mind, body, and soul, but majority I love connecting through the womb and through the heart, because I believe that the womb space, our our pelvic floor is
Mhm.
literally, I see it as an anchor of our source energy, right? It
Mhm.
pulls energy down, it anchors it into this physical realm. And when we actually connect to the womb space, we sit in that space. It's the most safest and most sacred space any woman or man would ever experience, because the womb space is not just where uterus sits, it's the place in the pelvic floor, and it's an energy space, right? It's our
Mhm.
connection. And when we start listening and sitting in that space, we can hear our body talk. We can get information. We can listen to, anything that's stored in there. We can start building a relationship, because
Mhm.
I see in life, everything in life is a relationship, right? If we
Yes.
don't have a relationship with ourselves or with our body, majority of us, even me, when I was years ago, didn't have a relationship with myself. I was literally not existing, right? And I
Mhm.
can understand that now, working with women when they come to me and when we drop into the womb space, and the first thing they feel and say is, oh, I'm not worthy. Like, I can't even look at that. It's too painful, right? Because we've been
Mm.
suppressing so much and not looking at it and really living up here in our head,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, sorry.
Do you think, just one question, Petra, do you think we pick up some of these things when we're in our mother's womb as
Oh, for
well?
sure. For sure. Yes. My experience was exactly that. Years ago, when I started healing, I had this beautiful experience, which was painful as well. That, I realized where I created, or this situation of me wanting to die or creating a situation of almost dying. I realized that that's the frequency within my body, that, somewhere was stuck. And I had a session with this beautiful lady that dropped me into, my mother's womb, and she wanted to drop me into mine, but it literally went into my mama when I was literally in her womb. And I
Mm.
realized that I was not wanted. So, and I actually
Mm.
felt emotions when I was in the womb. So yeah, for sure, the energy imprint can go far back.
Yes, because we inherit a lot of things from our mothers, the
Oh, for
emotions attached, the situation that they were experiencing, whether they were happy, whether they were in a good relationship, whether they felt safe while we were growing inside of them.
yes, for
So
sure.
so what is womb healing like? How do you go through this? What's the process involved?
Well, the simplest way of somebody to do it just on their own is to literally just go into like a soft meditation and
Mm-hmm.
close their eyes and really allow themselves to drop into the womb space of the body. And what I recommend is literally just sitting there for a while and look at and
Mm-hmm.
observe the space, and really see what's going on in there, and just tune in and listen. Because sometimes we try to overanalyze things of how we can do this, and this is the process, and this needs to be this way. But the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, our bodies are so intelligent; they know what to do when we stop forcing things and we actually surrender. And I think the toughest thing, or the most challenging thing, with healing and with connection, comes when we need to surrender, because we're not used to surrendering, right? We live in a
Yeah.
world where everything is in control, right? When we need
Yes.
to in control. So the sitting in the womb space actually allows us to become softer and kinder and really allow things to come to us instead of us moving and forcing and striving to get things done. Yeah, so it is more natural flow of feminine energy.
Yeah, that's very much like with yoga as well. We have this philosophy, well, I have a philosophy and also in yoga that our body holds on to everything. And first of all, it'll tap you on the shoulder, might give you a little bit of a cold, and then it'll punch you, then it'll throw a brick at you, and then it'll knock you back, knock you down. So it's
Yeah.
always whispering to you, but because we're so busy, we don't hear these whispers. And I think what's happened with COVID and lockdown, especially in Melbourne, we're in lockdown for a long time and have been and are being going in the future. We're forced to surrender because we don't know what's going to happen even tomorrow as a collective in Victoria.
Yeah.
So that feeling of not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow and we cannot plan is subconsciously coming into ourselves as well of who
Yeah.
we are because all of a sudden we just have to surrender.
Yes, for sure. And
So
it also brings up the issues of trust, right? Because when
yes,
we are not taught how to surrender, we're not taught to trust ourselves. We are taught to trust the outside authorities instead of us,
yes.
within. And that is challenging, especially now that everything is unknown. And it can be really frustrating for a lot of people to feel that.
Frustrating, scared, vulnerable. So how can, this womb healing really help to bring out a woman's essence?
A lot, yeah, because
Yeah.
when we actually connect back to our wombs
Mhm,
and connect to our body, we start trusting ourselves and we
mhm,
calm down. We are not under pressure anymore. And when we are connected to ourselves and to our body, we know that we are supported and we don't have to be in control. And that is
mhm,
all about magnetism. Yeah, instead of
mhm,
pushing and striving and going outside of us, we come back to ourselves. And when we come back
mhm,
to ourselves, we start listening, like you said before, right? In yoga, you go into, you go on a mat and you listen to the body. Where does it need the stretches? Where does it need to pause? And you
mhm,
go into the meditation and you really realize, oh my God, I just needed that deep breath. I just needed
mhm,
that connection and I just needed that stillness. And I feel like, simple things like, timeouts, or I love my morning routine, not routines. I love them. I love to call them rituals because they're
yes.
special spaces for me.
Mhm,
And they don't bring the routines in my life in a way of, constant striving, but I love connecting with myself when I'm still in bed, with my essence, with who I really am in the energy space, right? Not just
mhm,
physical body, because the physical body is just a part of it, right?
yeah.
And I love just before I open my eyes and when I'm still in bed, literally just putting my hands on my womb space and literally just dropping my energy down, like I would really ground myself through my feet into the earth and bring the energy up into the womb space and really just feel that grounding, calming energy. And I love to ask questions sometimes. Sometimes I just like to sit in there and honor that space because that's
Mm,
a time out for me as well before the busy day comes in. And
mm,
it grounds me, it centers me. So I have more motivation and I have um, less anxiety and less fear throughout the day. Um,
mhm,
and I do that in the evening before I go to bed as well.
mhm,
Otherwise, um, I also love natural support. For me, during the day, especially when there's a lot of going on, especially in Melbourne now that's so uncertain, and
mm,
anxiety comes up, fears come up, we start thinking and analyzing and we go on a hamster wheel, right? I like
mhm,
to have just that time out of a deep breath. Yeah, breath is
mhm,
free. in the majority of us don't know how to breathe, right? And you probably know teaching yoga that that's so
Yes.
important, right? And I love using essential oils. Essential oils are my go-to. They are the ones raising my frequency as well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how to do energy healings, those are the things that will help you lift the frequency and the vibration of the body. So we're not
Mm-hmm.
sitting in those lower emotions of fear and shame and guilt, and it becomes really heavy in the body as well. Another free thing that you can do is grounding. If you can go out while you can go out, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a house and you have a garden, just sit outside on the grass. Just take that moment. If it's raining, I understand it's kind of hard to go out, but you can still pause a bit. Yeah. So 5 minutes on the toilet if you need to. If there's no, if kids are around, 5 minutes on the toilet to just close your eyes and imagine literally growing roots into the ground, grounding with the
Mm-hmm.
earth. The best
Yeah.
way is to go to the earth because it's electromagnetic field and it actually recharges us, right?
Yes. So you've shared a lot about having morning rituals
Yeah.
that can be established. What would be some of those morning rituals that you've explained, but any other tips you've got that can help somebody going through, really uncertain times? What can they start doing that can really help them at the moment, straight away when things are getting a bit too much?
I would say breath. Breath is the
Yeah,
easiest way to do.
yeah,
But the other thing that I would encourage people, because now they're at home, right?
yeah,
They are forced to be with themselves. And my best solution is to start building a relationship with yourself and
yes,
really just starting to small steps, right? If it's looking yourself in the mirror in the morning, yeah, and just looking in your eyes and observing some positive things about yourself and saying three positive words about yourself that you see in that mirror. Even if it's, I love the tone of your skin, or even if it's small bits and pieces that, some women have a hard time looking at themselves and really acknowledging the beauty within them, right? And even if it's, your heart is beautiful and your heart is open, whatever it is that is the positive joy, happiness feeling, because that actually activates the serotonin and the
mm,
happy hormones, right, in our body. So,
yes,
and other thing, I would say dance. Dance is, it's a way of movement. I have a weekly a ritual. It's like I call it crazy ritual of dancing. I put 15 minutes of really, really loud music that I really love. And I just shake it off. I shake it off and I sing and I laugh and I dance and I have fun
yes,
because my body needs that positivity. And when we move, we are meant to move, right? The energy moves
yes,
through the body. And when we move, like with yoga, right, we move the energy
yes,
through the body. And if you can do yoga, that's beautiful. If you can, manage that quiet time. But sometimes with kids need to, jump around and, push that energy outside of their body. So dancing is actually a really good thing to do, and it actually tires them down as well. So
oh yeah,
um,
we use that quite often when everybody's going crazy. Let's just put some music on and dance. And
yeah,
it's one or two songs, and it makes a big difference, and everybody's just happy afterwards.
yeah, and like I love fun things and I like playful things, and I think we don't do them as much as we would like to. Or and now that with all this tension and restrictions, and it's heavy energy, it's intense
Yes,
energy. And we need to loosen the body up. We need to shake it off. We need to bring some positivity and some playfulness into our life because that is feminine energy, right? It's playfulness and creativity. And, if we can bring some colors and creativity into it, even better. But just,
yes,
15 minutes of shaking and dancing and screaming and laughing, it's something, it's for free, that you can
yes.
do every day if you need to.
So Petra, how would you describe what is exactly just for people that don't know, what is feminine energy? What is it exactly?
So we all have feminine and masculine energy within us, right?
Yes.
And we know that I like to describe it as the masculine energy is like a cup, yeah?
Yep.
And the feminine energy is the liquid within the cup.
Yep.
So the cup on its own has no purpose without the liquid. And the
Yep.
liquid on the table without the cup is just a mess. So
Yes.
we need both, right? So the masculine energy brings that stability and the frame of structure, not rigid structure, but the structure that holds everything together, where the
Mm-hmm.
feminine energy is the one that flows. It's connected to the intuition, it's connected to the heart, it's connected to creativity, it's connected to the emotional soft part of us, right? And the masculine energy is connected to action and bringing things into the physical manifestation, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
both of them, because if we're too much in one, then we are out of balance in the other. So we
Yeah.
need both, right? And feminine energy is something I love to, and I see it that way. And that's how I was introduced to it as well through my energy work, is that it's catalyst for change. And now in these times of so much change, we want to try to control everything, which is the wounded masculine, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the solution out that I see is literally tuning in, trusting our intuition, and surrendering to the process of who we really are, and literally allowing the transformation to come and speaking
Mm-hmm.
up our truth, because that is also feminine energy, right? It is expression of creativity, it's expression of who we are.
That might be hard sometimes when we're not used to it. Like it's
Yes,
relearning
yes,
how to tap into that feminine energy and being confident enough to share the truth, which
yes,
can be scary sometimes because the truth sometimes is not easy to face.
yes, I agree.
So
And I
how
always say,
yeah.
we don't have to face the world, right? The first one we need to face is ourselves. And when we
Mm-hmm.
become honest with ourselves and we speak the truth to ourselves, then
Mm-hmm.
we face the world, because otherwise
Mm-hmm.
it's too scary, right? And
Yeah.
if we can be honest by saying one honest thing to ourselves in the mirror in the morning, we are on our way to the truth, and we're
Yeah.
going to listen more to ourselves, we're going to be more connected to ourselves, and we're going to be in alignment not only with ourselves but also with our values, because
Mm-hmm.
when we're not in alignment with our values, we're actually really frustrated, and we get cranky, and our boundaries get crossed, and things start to roll down the hill really fast. And
Yeah, and I find that this is really hard for us women to learn this because our mothers, their generation didn't have this awareness, maybe, or they did, but they just were a bit more
sure.
repressed. So for somebody like what they saw, their mother just used to surrender and just let things happen. All of a sudden, they got to re-educate themselves as women
Yeah. And it's
to,
process. It's not going to
yeah,
happen overnight. And I always
no,
say, stay curious, right? Instead of being rigid and focus on one thing and this is the way it is. I always like to say, experiment. What about if I do this way? What would happen? We
mm,
don't know. There's not only one right answer, right? We all have our own truth. And I think
yeah,
it's really important to honor that. And by experimenting and by trying, and just trying it out and see what happens. And I
yeah,
know some that can be hard, even trying it, right? To get out of
yeah.
the box. And
Even just
um,
saying positive things about you. We're so self-critical of ourselves as women.
yeah, yeah,
It's just to even say a few positive things about yourself that
yeah,
you value as a woman is a first. It's a good big first step, I would
yeah,
say.
yes, for sure. And
And even
it
allocating, yeah, and even allocating, like saying a few things, three things that you love about yourself,
yeah,
or even having 3 minutes to yourself just to tap into your breath.
yeah.
What else would you
Even
say? Any other tips you've got to share with us? And while we're sharing some tips, if you've got any questions, let us know and we will try to answer them. So, any other
um,
tips?
like I said before, there's plenty dancing.
Yes.
There's meditations in the morning. You can use. I love solfeggio frequencies that are actually really you can. They're for free on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever you listen to the music or iTunes. You can find them. And I love solfeggio frequency, especially 524. So four 542. Sorry. Um, that's a really it's a love frequency. It's the frequency of the body that actually heals, which is really nice. And you can do that in the morning or before you go to sleep, and do the 3 minutes or 5 minutes of that music, and it's going to calm you down. So something that's external, so you don't have to really focus on going deep within and doing all this stuff. If you have hectic days,
Mm,
sometimes allowing to listen to the music that's calming can be
mm.
a simple step to actually start changing something. And sleeping routines, right? Sleep is so important,
Yes.
and without sleep, nothing functions,
Mhm.
and nutrition, support your body with, I always say, body is an investment. And your food is an investment. So whatever you put in your body, you're investing, right? Whatever's going to come in is going to get out. Yeah. So
Mm.
if it's not a good quality, then the outcome's not going to be a good quality either. So, and until we start treating our bodies as an investment into ourselves, nothing's going to change, right?
Yeah.
And I said breaths, music, dancing, just a small 1, 2, 3 words um, of
Yes.
acknowledgement, just starting small. And if you like journaling, that's of course journal. But I do believe that, where, yes, writing things down, but it's also important to transform that. So we're not just, always in that mud of emotions and what's going on in the life, because that can keep us on a hamster wheel all the time as well. So it's really important to find, I always like to say, if I'm afraid of something,
Mhm.
what would be the opposite of it, right? So if I'm afraid of, I don't know, afraid of darkness, right? What would be the opposite
Mhm.
of that? What would take that darkness away? Or what can I do to bring that feeling of fear to make it smaller, to make it lighter, right? I can turn
Mhm.
on the light, right? So it's easier,
Yes.
right? Or, for example, and for example, it's really interesting as well to me, when we go, oh, I feel frustrated, and I go, okay, so what makes me feel happy? How can I
Yes.
bring joy into my heart? Think of a positive moment in your life that, brought you that joy, and focus on that, because our brain doesn't distinguish between the reality right now and the
Yeah.
memory it used to be. Yeah. So the hormones in the body will still react and your body will still calm down. So small tips
Yeah.
like that are always good to look at.
Wonderful. We've got a question here. What if you experienced trauma as a child? Did that trauma live within your body?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Depending on what kind of trauma it was, also depending on where your body stored it. But if this trauma, with my experience, I would say if the trauma was not expressed fully, then if it was suppressed and suppressed and suppressed, it's like I always say, an emotion that's suppressed, it's like a magnet. So any other situation that happens after that trauma, um, and it has the same vibration or frequency, it's going to attach to that thing. So when
Mm.
your body is storing that emotion, it's actually loading more and more and more if you're not literally expressing and releasing. And what happens is there comes a time where your body can't hold on to that anymore, and there's physical issues that happen. Like I can speak for myself, for example. When I was suffering with endometriosis, that's a connection to, yes, the mother connection, the feminine energy. Of course, the mother connection with my mother was never, I never had a really good relationship with my mom. I felt abandoned. I felt I was not worthy enough, right? To the point of I didn't want to live. So my body actually created the situation to
Mhm.
actually tell me, hello, this is a red alarm. you don't want
Mm,
to live anymore, right? So
mm,
our body wants to protect us. And it always gives us signs, and it has the language of, like you said before, I always like to use the analogy of, feather, a brick, and a truck, right? Like you
yes.
said before, right? So feather, your body says, oh, like you said, cold. Yes, something's not right. This is there's some suppression here. Your body immune system is not working properly. So maybe you're under stress, something's not right. And then we don't listen. Then we go to work, we do this, and we move forward, and I need to do this, and I need to do this. We don't listen. And then the next one comes, and we have to be at home for a week, right? So the
Mm,
brick comes in. Oh my God, something's wrong, right? And then we don't listen again. And then the truck comes in. And, oh my God, and now we have a problem. Yeah. So and then we have
yes.
to look at it, right? Because our body and the universe or God or whatever you want to call it will always find a way for us to listen. And if
Yes.
it means, like it was in my case, if it means I needed to die, or at least come to close to dying, to actually realize that I need to change something, that's what it will do. And until we actually realize that our body has a beautiful language that we can learn to connect back to ourselves and listen and really start healing the suppressed emotions. And there's one thing I want to add on this as well.
Mhm.
With trauma and suppressed emotions, we tend to think there's something wrong with us, yeah, that we
Mm,
need to fix ourselves. And I really want to express this because I get this with women a lot, is
mhm.
nothing's wrong with us. There's nothing to fix. There's only something to allow, to release. And
Yes.
our body will go back to equilibrium, back to balance the way it needs to go when we actually allow. But when we think
Mm,
something is wrong, we're actually holding on to that frequency of or vibration of suppressed emotion. So we want to
mm.
fix that instead of heal it and release it.
Yes, good point. Well, Petra, we got one more question. Could you please send us a frequency example for the music?
Oh, for the music, yeah, sure. I'll
Yes.
post it in the comments in the Facebook
Yes,
when we finish. That's not
I
a
love
problem at all.
yeah, I love frequency music. I use that often in my yoga classes at the end of class.
Yeah,
That nice frequency. It could take you to another zone.
yeah, for sure.
And if you've got any other questions, please post them and we'll be able to answer them later if you can't think of anything
Sure.
now. We thank you for your time, Petra,
You're more
and
than
coming
welcome.
here. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Please leave your comments and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Can I
And
can I
yes,
can I add something as well? So
sure.
I am starting a 12-week online mastermind, Empower Your
Yes,
Feminine Essence, on Monday, and we're
yes.
almost full. But we started a competition giving away one free spot. And there's a competition, which is a giveaway competition. It's a fun competition in my Facebook group, Empowering Feminine Essence, and I can post a link in the comments if you want to join.
Mm,
It is fun, and the program is worth $1,200 for
mm.
12 weeks. And we're going to talk about all of this that we talked about tonight. And I'll post the link for the group so you can join us in there, and you can find the details in there as well.
Oh, thank you, Petra. We so appreciate you. Thank you for watching, everybody, and we look forward
Thanks,
to seeing
everyone.
you next time. Also, leave any comments. We'll be here answering them as well. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, Shamida, for having me. Enjoy